The Ice Age did not end suddenly. For tens of thousands of years, Earth was locked in a frozen rhythm. Vast ice sheets covered nearly a third of the planet. Glaciers kilometers thick pressed down on continents, sculpting mountains, carving valleys, and imprisoning oceans. Sea levels were more than 100 meters lower than today. Entire continents were connected by land bridges. Siberia to North America, Southeast Asia to distant islands. This was a world of extremes. Winters were brutal, summers short and weak. Winds screamed across open tundra. Dust storms darkened the sky. Forests retreated. In their place stretched endless grasslands, frozen deserts, and permafrost that never softened. Life survived, but only the strongest endured. Mammoths roamed in herds, wrapped in fur against the cold. Saber-toothed cats stalked prey across icy plains. Giant ground sloths, woolly rhinos, and cave lions dominated a world shaped by survival alone. Early humans followed these animals, living on the edge of extinction themselves. Every migration, every hunt, every fire was a battle against the cold. But beneath the ice, something was changing. Far from the frozen continents, deep within Earth's atmosphere and oceans, invisible forces were shifting. The planet's orbit wobbled ever so slightly. Sunlight distribution changed. Summers grew just a little warmer. Winters shortened by days, then weeks. At first, no one noticed. The ice still ruled. Glaciers still advanced and retreated in familiar cycles. Snow still returned each year, but the balance was no longer stable. The Ice Age was not eternal. It was living on borrowed time. The warning signs were everywhere. If you knew how to read them, glaciers began to thin. Meltwater carved new rivers beneath the ice. Massive lakes formed behind frozen dams, growing silently, relentlessly. The world was still frozen, but the Ice Age was dying, and its final day was approaching. The last day of the Ice Age did not arrive with a single sunrise. It arrived as a cascade. As temperatures climbed, glaciers that had dominated the land for millennia began to destabilize. Ice that once crept forward now collapsed backward. Entire walls of frozen mass fractured and fell, releasing floods powerful enough to reshape continents. Meltwater surged into the oceans, raising sea levels at a pace never before seen by human eyes. Coastlines vanished, valleys drowned, lowlands became seabeds. What had once been dry land, migration routes used for generations, was swallowed in decades. One of the greatest forces of destruction came from ice, dammed lakes. Held back by fragile frozen walls, these inland seas grew enormous. When the ice finally failed, the release was catastrophic. In a matter of days, or even hours, more water poured across the land than all modern rivers combined. Forests were flattened, soil was stripped away to bare rock. Entire ecosystems were erased in moments. The oceans responded violently. Cold freshwater disrupted global currents, weakening the systems that once regulated Earth's climate. Storms intensified, weather patterns broke down. Some regions warmed rapidly, while others plunged back into cold, unstable conditions. Life was thrown into chaos. Plants adapted to cold began to fail. Grasslands shifted north. Forests crept into former tundra. Animals that relied on open, frozen landscapes found themselves trapped between shrinking habitats and changing food sources. For humans, the world became unpredictable. Familiar hunting grounds disappeared, rivers changed course. Seasons no longer followed the rules passed down through generations. Survival demanded adaptation, or extinction, and yet, this destruction was not random. The Ice Age was ending because Earth itself was resetting. The frozen world could no longer exist under the new climate reality. The systems that sustained it were collapsing one by one. The planet was shedding its ice skin. The last day of the Ice Age was not peaceful. It was violent. It was relentless, and it was irreversible. As the ice retreated, giants began to fall. The great megafauna of the Ice Age, creatures perfectly adapted to cold, faced a world that no longer favored them. Woolly mammoths struggled as tundra turned to forest. Thick fur became a liability. Food sources vanished. Migration routes ended at rising seas or impassable terrain. Some species tried to adapt. Others failed quickly. Saber-toothed cats lost prey that had sustained them for thousands of years. Giant deer, burdened by enormous antlers, could not navigate dense forests. Massive ground sloths, slow and specialized, could not compete in rapidly changing ecosystems. Extinction followed in waves, but climate alone was not the only force at work. Humans, now more widespread and technologically advanced, hunted with increasing efficiency. Fire, tools, and cooperation gave them an advantage no Ice Age predator could match. In a shrinking world, pressure mounted on already vulnerable species. This was not a single moment of collapse. It was a slow unraveling. Generation by generation, fewer calves were born. Herds grew smaller. Genetic diversity collapsed. By the time the climate stabilized, many species were already doomed. The mammoth did not vanish in a single winter. It faded, silently, inevitably. Yet even as old life disappeared, new possibilities emerged. Smaller animals thrived, forest species expanded, birds adapted quickly. The ecological vacuum left behind reshaped the planet's future. The Ice Age had created monsters. Its end created opportunity. The age of giants was over. For early humans, the last day of the Ice Age was both disaster and gift. As glaciers melted, new lands emerged. Fertile river valleys formed from glacial runoff. Soils enriched by ancient ice supported plant growth on an unprecedented scale. Where survival once depended on constant movement, stability became possible. Humans began to settle. With predictable seasons came experimentation, planting seeds, domesticating animals, building permanent shelters. The thaw unlocked resources once buried beneath ice: stone, wood, water, and open land. But the transition was dangerous. Floods destroyed camps. Rising seas erased coastal communities. Knowledge passed down through generations suddenly became obsolete. Survival demanded innovation. Those who adapted survived. Those who didn't vanished from history. The end of the Ice Age forced humanity to change faster than ever before. Social structures evolved. Cooperation expanded. Technology accelerated. This was not just the end of a climate era. It was the birth of civilization. Agriculture followed. Villages grew into cities. Trade networks expanded. Writing, law, and culture emerged. Not in spite of the Ice Age's end, but because of it. The last day of the Ice Age marked the final moment humans lived as purely Ice Age creatures. After it, the world would never again be static. The Ice Age is gone, but its shadow remains. The landscapes we recognize today were forged in its final collapse. Mountains, lakes, coastlines, and river systems all bear the scars of melting ice. Beneath modern cities lie sediments laid down by ancient floods. Beneath oceans rest drowned worlds once walked by humans and animals alike. Most importantly, the Ice Age taught Earth a lesson. Climate is not permanent. Stability is temporary. When thresholds are crossed, change can be sudden, unstoppable, and global. The last day of the Ice Age was not an apocalypse. It was a transformation. Life did not end, it evolved, but many did not survive the transition. Today, humanity stands in another moment of change. The systems that regulate our climate are shifting once again, this time at our own hands. The past offers no comfort, only warnings. The Ice Age ended because Earth changed. The question now is whether we can adapt as life once did. Because the last day of the Ice Age reminds us of a simple truth: the planet always survives. It is life that must keep up. Fade to black.